Writing Course Development for English 116 students. Unit 1, A Journey. Unit 1, A Journey. Objectives. After completing this unit, students will be able to identify important parts of a sentence. Learn how to use conjunctions in order to join sentences. And write guided paragraphs. Unit 1. What is a sentence? A sentence begins with a capital letter and ends with a full stop, a question mark, or an exclamation mark. It always has a verb. For example, my cousin works in the Ministry of Education. Here we have a sentence and it begins with a capital letter. And it is ending with a full stop. It could also end with a question mark or exclamation mark depending on how the sentence is written. How can we join sentences? Well, we can join two sentences using words like and or but, also known as conjunctions. What is a guided paragraph? It is a paragraph which contains a number of sentences. It is very important that it is noted here that a paragraph contains more than one sentence. For example, Musa visited some markets and mosques in Istanbul. Here we see the conjunction and joining two ideas in a sentence. We also have Walid and Rudy visited the ruins in Petra. Here we have and joining Walid and Rudy. Now, I want you to think of other places that people visit on holidays and write them below. Now, let's take a look at a guided paragraph. Complete the given paragraph with the helpful words given below. It is worth noting that these helpful words are there for you to use, but you may not use all of them. Let's take a look at each one. We have go, like, not like, which is negative. We have the verb be, return, decide, fly, arrive, leave, stay, and spend. It is very important that you decide which blank below that each of these words would go into. You may not use all of them. We will now begin the guided paragraph. I'll read it for you. Last summer, my friend and I went to visit India. Went is a verb. Now, why did you use went? Well, last summer is in the past. So you also need a verb that is in the past. Next sentence. We flew to Doha at 11 o'clock in the evening, and we arrived in Bombay at 5:30 in the morning. We liked Bombay very much, and we stayed there for a week. I went shopping in the markets almost every day. Next, we went to Delhi, but we did not like it very much. It was hot and noisy. We left the next day and went to Kashmir. We stayed 5 days there. It was very cool and green. Then we returned to Delhi, and the next day we went to Dubai. Finally, we arrived in Doha after a long but very interesting trip. Sentence building. Make sentences from the groups of words below and write them in the table. The table will be on the next slide. As you can see, we have a few sentences here and they are all out of order. Let's go to the next slide where we will put these sentences in order. So, in this example, each sentence will have a who, verb, where, and when, completing the sentence. Let's begin with example A. Musa flew to Kuwait on Sunday. Let's look at example B. Nadia went to London last summer. Let's look at example C. My uncle visited Cyprus in 1985. Let's look at example D. My parents arrived there on Tuesday. Let's look at example E. Salam returned to Jeddah after 3 weeks. Let's look at example F. I drove to the coast last year. Assignments and activities. Put the capital letters and full stops in the following sentences. Muhammad flew to Athens last Thursday. Well, Muhammad, this is a name. Flew to Athens. This is a place. What else are we missing? A full stop. Let's look at B. Salam, always capitalize the beginning of sentences and names. Spent a week in Libya. Always capitalize the names of countries. Last February. Always capitalize the month, day, or day of the year. Let's end with a full stop. Let's look at example C. The beginning of the sentence always is capitalized. They arrived in Beirut, this is the name of a city, on Wednesday morning. This is the name of a day of the week. It should be capitalized. We are missing a full stop. Now, I want you to write a paragraph about a trip that you have made or someone you know has made by car, bus, or plane. Draw a plan of your journey, as we have learned in class. Where did you go? When? How long did you stay in each place? And what did you do there? Joining sentences with and. For example, Hussein drove to Riyadh. He spent the night in a hotel. Hussein drove to Riyadh and he spent the night in the hotel. Let's do the same thing for here. Layla flew to Amman and, small s, she stayed there for 1 week. The businessman left Rome at 8 o'clock. Remove the full stop and, small t, lowercase t, they arrived in Damascus at 11:30. I visited Dubai last year. Remove the full stop and, I went shopping in the market every morning after breakfast. I is always capitalized when it's by itself. Let's look at the last example. Magdi took the train to Aswan. And he, lowercase h, spent a few days there with his relatives. Writing course development for English 116 students. Unit 2, a life story. Unit 2, a life story. Objectives. After completing this unit, students will be able to learn the usage of ago for describing past events. Identify the correct position of verbs in a sentence. And write guided paragraphs with the help of given information. Unit 2, a life story. Language usage. Ago. With ago, we always use past verbs. Look at these sentences. 10 years ago, his family moved to Muscat. Maz joined a bank a few months ago. He left school 5 years ago. Remember, with ago, we always use past verbs. He left. This is a past verb. School 5 years ago. I saw Faisal 10 minutes ago. Was and were are both past forms of the verb be. Look at these sentences. Kalthum was one of the most famous Arab singers. Her family were poor farmers. Something to remember. Was and were are both past forms of the verb be. Sentence building. Make sentences from these words. Then write the sentences in the table. We have A, B, C, D. And all of these go into the chart listed below. Remember, it begins with who, the verb, what and where, and when. So, example A. Habiba returned to Kuwait a few weeks ago. Example B. My brother left school 8 years ago. Example C. My family moved to Jeddah 6 months ago. And example D. Salam was born in a small town in Sudan 23 years ago. Please notice that this chart follows the following format. You begin with who, such as Habiba, my brother, my family, Salam. We then go on to the verb. Returned, left, moved, was born. We then move on to what and where, such as to Kuwait, school, to Jeddah, in a small town in Sudan. And we end the sentence with when, such as a few weeks ago, 8 years ago, 6 months ago, and 23 years ago. Now, let's begin our guided paragraphs. But before we do that, let's take a look at some of the information given below in order to complete the paragraph on the next slide. We have name, where she was born, the date she was born, where she was educated, her qualifications, such as a BA degree in English, whether she's married or single, and her work. These are the content areas giving you information: name, where she was born, date, education, qualifications, whether she is married or single, and where she has worked. Let us begin the paragraph. Now, one thing I want you to do is go back and forth between these slides. I will give you the answers. Jamila Khatun was born in Doha, in Qatar, 26 years ago. She began school when she was 5 years old, in Doha in 1965. Her family moved to Dubai and she went to secondary school there. 6 years ago, Jamila finished secondary school and went to Al Ain University to study English. She graduated in 1983, and in the same year she was married. Jamila began work 2 years ago as a teacher in Al Ain Secondary Technical School. Now, let's take a look at the assignment for Unit 2. Read the information given below and write a paragraph about Saud Issa, about 100 words. His name is Saud Issa. He was born in Taif, Saudi Arabia, in 1985. He was educated from 1985 to 1995 in a school in Taif. Also from 1997 to 2000 in a school in Jeddah. Between 2000 and 2005, he went to King Khalid University in Abha. His qualification was a BA in English Literature. And he was married in 2008. He had one daughter in 2010. Since 2010, he's been working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now, something to look at for yourself. When did you start and leave these schools? I want you to complete the table given below. You have your primary, preparatory, and secondary school. Please note from and to before completing your table. Writing Course Development for English 116 students. Unit 3, Telling a Story. Unit 3, Telling a Story. Objectives. After completing this unit, students will be able to describe events using the present and past continuous forms of a verb. Identify the subject, verb, object positions in a sentence. And develop ideas with the given information. Let's look at language usage of was or were plus ing. Look at these sentences. A car was overtaking a pickup on a bend. Fareed was driving to Al Ain. As we could see, we have was plus the ing at the end of a verb. Note, we use is or are plus ing to describe a scene or action in the present. Number 2, please note, we use was or were plus ing to describe a scene or action in the past. Sequence words. When we tell a story, we use words like then to show that one thing happened after another. Other similar words are then, after that, after a few minutes or days, and later, finally. Sentence building. Put the words in the correct order in the table below. Let's look at examples A, B, C, and D. For example, a car was overtaking a pickup on a bend. Let's fill in the chart. A bus was waiting for a man at a stop. 2 men were crossing the road near the petrol station. A policeman was directing the traffic on the road. Some boys were playing football near the road. Let's join the sentences with so. We have option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and please note, we do not usually begin a sentence with so, and we usually put a comma before so. For example, number 1, Fareed was very thirsty, so he decided to stop for a drink. Number 2, the front tire was flat, comma, so I changed the wheel. Number 3, a lorry came out of a side road, comma, so the driver of the car braked. Number 4, the driver was injured, comma, so I phoned for an ambulance. Number 5, Salah was worried about Fareed, comma, so he started to look for him. Number 6, the car suddenly stopped, comma, so Fareed checked the engine. Now, we're going to look at number 2. The front tire was flat, so I changed the wheel. Remember, always before so, we have a comma. Also, we do not usually begin a sentence with so. The front tire was flat, comma, so I changed the wheel. Number 3, a lorry came out of a side road, comma, so the driver of the car braked. Number 4, the driver was injured, comma, so I phoned for an ambulance. Number 5, Salah was worried about Fareed, comma, so he started to look for him. Number 6, the car suddenly stopped, comma, so Fareed checked the engine. Now, use the verbs given below to complete the given paragraph. Ran, hit, had, stopped, braked, was, were, going, was driving, was following. A few days ago, I blank an accident on the motorway. I towards the city. It the morning and a lot of people to work. A large lorry close behind me. Suddenly a boy out in front of me. I and just in front of him, but a lorry the back of my car. Luckily, nobody hurt, but my car badly damaged. As you could see, as I was reading this paragraph, it didn't really make sense. It's because we have to put the words in the blanks below. Let's begin. A few days ago, I had an accident on the motorway. I was driving towards a city. It was the morning and a lot of people were going to work. A large lorry was following close behind me. Suddenly, a boy ran out in front of me. I braked and stopped just in front of him. But a lorry hit the back of my car. Luckily, nobody was hurt, but my car was badly damaged. Assignment. I want you to write a paragraph about an accident that happened to someone you know or you saw in the near past, just like in the example paragraph in the previous slide. Use past verbs, such as was or were, plus ing verbs. Writing course development for English 116 students. Unit 4, Giving Instructions. Unit 4, Giving Instructions. Objectives. After completing this unit, students will be able to identify the usage of the base form of a verb and its negative for giving instructions. Learn the usage of correct verb positioning for giving instructions. Make sentences with when clauses and use it for writing paragraphs. We use the base form of verbs for instructions and do not plus the base form of a verb for negative instructions. For example, lift, put, and replace, and do not lift. Look at the table given below to understand. For example, lift the handset. We have the verb lift, and what is the handset? Put the card in the slot. We have the verb put. The what is the card, and where is in the slot. Replace the handset at the end of the call. The verb is replace, and the what is the handset, and when is at the end of the call. Do not remove your card. The verb remove. Do not remove. This is negative, and the what is your card. Complete the table given below using the words in correct order. As we can see, we have examples A, B, C, and D out of order. Now let's look at the table. For example, in A we have remove the card from your machine. In B we have collect the money from your tray. And in C we have do not replace the handset after your first call. Notice this is in the when category. And we have do not remove your slot card from the laptop. This is example D. Now let's take a look at the when clause. Look at the sentence given below. Key in the amount of money when the machine is ready. Here we have two verbs, key in and is. The second verb is in a part of the sentence called a clause. Which clause? A when clause. We can also write the above sentence as when the machine is ready, comma, key in the amount of money. Note, we put a comma after the when clause if it comes at the beginning of the sentence. Now, we're going to match these sentences with when clauses on the right. Number 1, rewind the cassette when the recording is finished. Replace the handset when your call is over. Dial your number when you hear the dialing tone. Switch off the machine when you have all the copies. Speak into the microphone when you are ready to record. Match the sentences with the when clauses on the right. We've already done this, but let's look it over again. Rewind the cassette when the recording is finished. Now, number 1, rewind the cassette when the recording is finished. Please look at the blue letters below. It'll help you learn it better. Now, how do we change this around? When the recording is finished, comma, rewind the cassette. Remember, when the when clause goes in position 1, a comma separates. Number 2, replace the handset when your call is over, or when your call is over, comma, replace the handset. Number 3, dial your number when you hear the dialing tone, or when you hear the dialing tone, comma, dial your number. Number 4, switch off the machine when you have all the copies, or when you have all the copies, comma, switch off the machine. So you can see we're establishing a pattern here. Number 5, speak into the microphone when you are ready to record. When you are ready to record, comma, speak into the microphone. Complete the paragraph given below with the list of helpful verbs. Put, remove, select, close, lift, switch off, close, switch on, wait, and press. Let's take a look. First, switch on the photocopier and wait for 1 minute. Lift the cover of the photocopier and put the letter on the glass. Select the number of copies you want. Then, close the cover and press the start button. When you have finished, remove the letter and the copies from the machine. Finally, close the cover and switch off the machine. Now, what I want you to do, a Unit 4 assignment. Write a paragraph on how to make kepsa. First, I want you to make the list of ingredients. Then, write the steps. And finally, connect your ideas. Writing course development for English 116 students. Unit 5. Giving directions. Objectives. After completing this unit, students will be able to use common verbs for giving instructions about directions. Describe a journey by road using useful vocabulary. And write a guided paragraph about a journey by road. We use verbs such as come, go, keep, take, and turn. They are used for giving instructions or directions, just like put, press, remove, and wait. Similar helpful verbs are turn left, go straight along the street, take the second turning on the right, turn right, go past the, go straight across, take the third turning on the left, and keep straight on. Useful words related to road and directions in this unit could be some traffic lights, a crossroad, junction, a one-way street, a motorway, a roundabout, a flyover, and a bridge. Put the words in the correct order in the table below. Here we have examples A, B, C, and D. Let's begin. We have verb, what, and where. Each sentence will fall into these three categories and in that order. Let's start with A. Turn left at the new turn. B. Take the second turning on the right. C. Go straight along this street. And D. Take the third left on the road. Guided paragraph. Remember, this is solved, but you will have examples throughout the course that are not solved. Use this to show you how to do it and also to demonstrate to yourself that you can achieve this. Complete the paragraph below with the help of given words. The given words are roundabout, along, left, traffic lights, take, turning, opposite, right, and straight. So, let's take a look at this paragraph. Come out of the Nile Hotel and turn left. Go along Al-Kabir Street. There's a park on your right. At the traffic lights, turn right into Rui Street. Go straight on until you come to a roundabout. Turn right, and then take a first, turning on your left. The post office is on your right. It is opposite a mosque. Writing course development for English 116 students. Unit 6, Future Plans. Unit 6, Future Plans. Objectives. After completing this unit, students will be able to learn the usage of going to and would like to for future tense. Join sentences using or, and write guided and free paragraphs about future events. Going to. We use going to when we are sure about our plans. For example, I'm planning to fly to Doha on Saturday, or I'm going to fly to Doha on Saturday. We can also use the present continuous or the present simple in the same way. I'm flying to Doha on Saturday. Another way, I'm going to fly to Doha on Saturday. Would like to. When we are not sure about the future, we can use would like to, hope to, or want to. I'd like to have my own garage. I hope to go to the university, and I want to travel overseas would be two good examples. Let's put the words in the correct order in the table given below. There are three options, A, B, and C. Now, each option would fall into these categories: who, verb, what, where, and when. All of the categories will not be filled for each sentence. Let's look at each sentence. Sentence A. I'm going to visit Tunisia next year. Sentence B. My brother is planning to buy a new car in the summer. Notice there is no where. And C. We are going to listen to a concert on the radio this evening. Joining sentences. Join the following sentences using or. Or basically gives you two options. For example, I may decide to become the manager of a football team. Perhaps I'll become a coach. Here we have two options: becoming a manager of a football team or becoming a coach. Let's join these sentences. I may decide to become the manager of a football team, comma, or perhaps I'll become a coach. Note, we put a comma before or. Now, let's match these pair of sentences. Let's look at sentence 2. It's an interesting one. I think I'll phone Fatima this evening. Perhaps I'll wait until I see her. Now, how would you join that? Let's continue. Now, these sentences are solved. The reason why they are solved is we want you to see a good example before beginning to solve your own. Number 1. I may go to Tunis next year. I may decide to stay at home. Number 2. I think I'll phone Fatima this evening. Perhaps I'll wait until I see her. Number 3. I'll probably go to the university this year. Perhaps I'll study at a college. Number 4. I may become a teacher. I may decide to join a bank. For example 1, I may go to Tunis next year, comma, or perhaps I may decide to stay at home would be how you join the sentences using or. We will go through all of the other examples. Example 2, I think I'll phone Fatima this evening, comma, or perhaps I'll wait until I see her. Example 3, I'll probably go to the university this year, comma, or perhaps I'll study at a college. For number 4, I may become a teacher, comma, or perhaps I may decide to join a bank. Notice each sentence gives two options, A and B, or indicates that you will choose one.